Welcome up! In this episode we will talk about corruption. Coming up. Hello, I'm Understanding Politics, and in this channel I talk about political theories and debates to students as well as curious and passionate people, just like you. This will be the first of a series of videos on great scandals of corruption all over the world, so if you're interested, stay tuned for the playlist by clicking subscribe and the bell to be notified about my latest videos. Corruption is associated with the idea of an informal practice involving representatives of the public and the private sectors. The term came into existence as a mundane expression lacking a systematic definition. This of course opened a debate in academic research, and by 1970 Arnold Heidenheimer was able to group all these different definitions of corruptions in three different categories: public-centered, market-centered, and public interest-centered. The first type focuses on public office and its possible deviations. The second one draws a parallel between public office and businesses, while the third one indulges on behaviors that can affect public interest. Different disciplines, of course, adopted different perspectives on corruption, defining it either in an economic way, in a legal way, or in a socio-anthropological way. Nowadays, the generally accepted definition of corruption is the abuse of entrusted power for private gain. This entails all sorts of situations where public and private figures betray those who entrusted them on a job. And in fact, corruption is often presented as one of the possible outcomes of the principal agent theory, but we will talk more in detail about this in another video. The term corruption dates to the origin of monotheist religions, conceived as a moral attribute opposite to integrity. Its current use is due to the ancient Romans, which were using the term beyond its traditional meaning to refer to controversial behaviors of public figures. Still, as said before, the concept became object of academic inquiry only during the 20th century. Corruption is not a Western invention because its meaning is shared in various parts of the world. According to Rothstein and Warreich, authors of Making Sense of Corruption, the core meaning of this term lies in the idea of favoritism, a negation of justice better understood when adopting a liberal perspective that distinguishes between a public and private sphere of life. In this particular sense, good governance represents the opposite of corruption. When talking about regimes, in political science there are at least 5 different concepts that differentiate from corruption but tend to overlap with it. These concepts are clientelism, patronage, patrimonialism, particularism, and state capture. Clientelism and patronage are terribly similar. The former is the case of a patron offering services of goods in exchange of public support, while the latter is the very same support offered in exchange of a public position. Patrimonialism is as well based on a similar patron-client relationship, but it is limited to selected key figures in politics and economy. Particularism entails cases of lack of impartiality, while state capture takes place whenever the pressure of lobbying is so strong that the interest of particular economic actors overcomes the public one. All of these practices can be either understood as corruption or simply fuel it, but in the end they are all part of the same common framework of informal practices that affect the relationship between the electorate and politicians. On the one hand, corruption is associated with acts performed in the shadow, but on the other, there is this conviction that for those who observe it, an act of corruption is as clear as daylight. Still, terms and interpretations vary, from embezzlement to bribing, from clientelism to patronage. Corruption involves a series of phenomena that do apply neither to every sector nor to every country. As a practice, corruption can be properly addressed only through the coordinated use of different methodological approaches from different actors, including academia, civil society, and policymakers. A real multidisciplinary perspective on the problem would require the coordination of research and advocacy. To reconstruct the image of a fleeting object like corruption, researchers must coordinate the angles of the shots of the different photographers. And now that you know what is corruption, you're ready to watch the videos that I will release in the next weeks. Thank you for watching. As usual, you can check the sources through the references section of this video description.